Hello and welcome to the latest session in the webinar series around Cloud ERP. Joining me today I have Vicky Briggs, who's our Global Head of Enterprise Change. Vicky, would you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely, and thank you for inviting me to join you on this webinar. My name is Vicky Briggs. I have been with Inoapps for around 12 months now, and I joined Inoapps to head up their Enterprise Change division, so helping our customers to achieve success when transitioning to the cloud. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I've spent most of my career working customer side, identifying business cases for digital transformation, assessing strategy options, and then assisting my clients to transition to the cloud. And we'll go through some of my learning from that experience during the course of this session.
Thanks, Vicky. And just by way of introduction, my name is Phil Wilson. I'm an SVP at Inoapps, been here for over 10 years, but been in the market for considerably longer, so implementing ERP, HCM solutions for over 20 years. In the last few years, been focused on cloud and looking and working with customers about how they make that journey to cloud, which is the topic for today's session. Is just to talk about some of the things around migrating to cloud, some of the things to look out for, and sharing some more learnings. The whole concept of this series is that, you know, to share in the community experience, tips, tricks, things to watch out for, etc. So this should take about 30 minutes. It will be recorded, so should you miss anything or enjoy the content that much you want to see it again, then we'll provide a link at the end. There will be some questions that you can ask, and I'll explain a bit about how you can ask those questions as we go through in a minute. But please also, if you've got colleagues that couldn't make it, please feel free to share this with them. And ultimately, if there's something we've not answered during the day that is a burning question, then please also email us at info@inoapps.com or use one of our social media channels. So in terms of logistics, if you want to ask a question, there's a panel on your device, depending on whether you're using a tablet or a PC, where if you click the bar, so the bar on a tablet is at the top typically, and for a PC it's on the right hand side, you can ask a question during the session. If we get a chance, we'll actually answer the questions as we go through. Failing that, there'll be a compendium of the Q&As that will be shared with the video recording email when it comes out. So in terms of agenda for today, some of the things that we get asked quite a lot are around things like, is cloud right for my organization? Where is cloud? How mature it is? Then we're going to talk a bit about building the business case. Most companies we talk to want to understand the pros and cons, want to start to build out what that business case would look like. We'll then talk a bit about some of the consideration points, so, you know, re-implement or reuse, technical integration, some thoughts on what to do with your data, and then finally we'll talk about process and culture, which in the cloud world becomes even more important as you start to have to think about change and transforming your business to fit in with the way the cloud works. And we'll talk a bit about our experience with that and again, the pros and cons of that a bit later on. So turning to the marketplace, what we're seeing is a much more rapid deployment of implementation. So instead of the 9 to 12 months deployments we used to see, we're seeing people consume HCM, ERP and reporting solutions in 4 to 6 months. And they're doing this because they're beginning to adopt standard business processes, which is driven by the cloud, because there are some limitations in terms of some of the complexity that you used to be able to do in cloud not being capable, not being able to be done on-prem, can be done in cloud. Therefore, your approach to the project is one of use the software as it is, change your business, which is why change becomes so much more important, and therefore get quicker implementations. As I mentioned, you know, take complexity out of your business. You can still build some highly complex extensions if there's solutions or areas of your requirements that aren't in standard package. But these are done completely outside in what we call platform as a service, so that it doesn't inhibit you from taking advantage of the cloud upgrades that you will get on a regular basis with new functionality opening up that avenue for you where a lot of people feel trapped because they can't upgrade their on-prem solutions. Also, you get more adoption of standard processes, so the implementations focus on what comes out of the box in terms of processes, which means that whilst you can configure to make that fit your business, you consume it as a standard process. And again, the other thing we're seeing is driving reporting to the end user. So some of the technology that's now embedded in the cloud solution is very powerful, and instead of it being a IT-driven tool, we're seeing it as a business-driven tool. So the first question we get asked is cloud right for my organisation? And I guess over the years that cloud's been maturing in the marketplace, there's been various products at various stages in terms of their completeness, in terms of end-to-end business. If you look at Oracle's cloud applications, it's fully mature. It now has ERP. It's had for some time HCM, and it's also got the sales and marketing cloud, so the CX cloud. And then over the last couple of years, they've moved all the Hyperion products into the cloud as well, and they continue to move applications that they used to have on-premise into the cloud world. Fully integrated, all on Oracle's cloud, which is one of the benefits of taking the service, so you don't have to keep the lights on, so you can subsume and subscribe to an Oracle provision of a complete solution without necessarily having all the technical skills or the physical infrastructure that you used to have. Security becomes a question. Again, there's a few options here, so you can have cloud on-premise or private cloud. You can have a hybrid where some of it's private and some of it's public, or you can have public cloud, so you purely need an internet connection from your site or from wherever your device is to the infrastructure that Oracle's providing and supporting and keeping the lights on. And that's the way that we see most of the companies going now, and that's the lowest cost of ownership option. The other aspect that we get asked quite a lot is actually, how do I now build the business case? So what are the benefits? How do I cost justify it? And again, every single business is different in terms of some people will already be doing some form of hosting potentially, which means you're not responsible for keeping the lights on. So every time we go and talk to a customer, we talk about different areas. And I'm going to talk about a few of those over the next few slides. The first thing in your business case is why do it? And again, I'll pick a couple out here and we'll go into more detail. Bring agility and efficiency. So, if your company's growing, if your company wants to consume new functionality, if Oracle develops the next release of a part of the solution that is really advantageous to you, you want to be able to consume that. So you need to be able to be agile and efficient in taking upgrades. In the old on-prem world, that became quite inhibitive because the cost or the perceived cost barrier to move was the cost to do those upgrades. In the cloud world, in Oracle's cloud world, you get 2 functional releases every year, which you have to take within a certain period of time. That's the whole concept of public cloud. There's various tips and tricks about the way you do that, and we'll talk a bit about that in one of the subsequent webinars we're going to run around how you actually manage it post go live in business as usual. But it's one of the benefits. New technology, you don't have to worry about the latest servers, the latest technology. Oracle deliver to your device, to your business, a certain performance and connectivity, and they keep all the lights on. Drop non-business strategic costs. So we see a lot of industries that if they went to on-prem, they may still have the hardware there, or they might have that hardware hosted in a vendor somewhere. Somebody needs to look after that. Somebody needs to do the technical services around backup, around DR. In the cloud world, you are pushing it all back onto the supplier, which in this case is Oracle. The other thing we see quite a lot is it's a great opportunity to make sure that you're delivering to your end users new working systems with the latest user interfaces and the latest functionality. And in some business sectors, that's highly important in terms of attracting and retaining some of your staff. They're looking, millennials of this world are looking for the latest technology in the businesses they go and work. So as I mentioned, various reasons to do it. Get the latest out of the latest, get the best out of the latest generation of ERP with minimal change effort. Once you've gone live and started to consume the service, you will have to take upgrades. A lot of the principles around that are around the fact that you're taking it as a standard set of services, standard processes. There's a limited amount of customization you can do, but you can do quite a lot of configuration during the implementation cycle and post go live as well. So there's limits on what you can do with that software. As I mentioned, there's a lot of people who've got on-prem solutions that are now trapped in a situation where there's a massive cost to an upgrade. So moving to cloud gets you out of that trapped situation. Costs, so again, you can drop non-business strategic costs and reduce the total cost of ownership. If you're a manufacturing business, if you're a financial services business, is running the IT where you want to spend your time and energy, or do you want to actually look and focus on how you're developing as a business, how you improve as a business? License costs, obviously, you no longer need to buy license costs up front. It's subsumed as a service and can be subsumed on OPEX. The other thing in the business case is to look at the benefits. So the business benefits are around items such as eliminate the need for expensive customizations. We've seen a lot of companies that did something and developed a heavy customization many years ago, and actually that's not valid for their business where it is today. So get rid of it, get it out of the system. And if you still need the customization, then do it in a more efficient way that fits the business need. Automatic upgrades, again, massive benefit in doing that. The UI, the user interface has been advanced massively and will continue to be advanced, and you can take that. The other thing we've seen happening is actually take the opportunity to get consistent processes across all of the business, and Vicky will talk a bit about that a bit later on. You can get up and running quickly, so there's less upfront costs and less risk around the investment you're making. So many financial type benefits. In terms of implementation points, you could just take it as a net new implementation, so do a complete re-implementation, which we're seeing that companies that implemented their solutions 15, 20 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, are taking the opportunity to say, actually, our business has changed. I want to sit back and think about things again. Now we know where the company is at today. Or you could actually reuse a lot of the decisions. So you'll have made key decisions during the implementation cycle, if you did it recently, where if you chose a chart of accounts, if you chose an entity structure, that's probably still valid. So rather than throw it away, why don't you look at reusing some of that investment in time that you made? Technical integration, again, we can actually reuse a lot of the logic in technical integrations. The thing that's changed is really the APIs, the plugins at the Oracle end. Another thing to consider is what do I do with my data? So if you've amassed many years of data, you might want to take the opportunity to retain a certain number of years online, but put the rest into some sort of archive for reporting purposes. And again, we, as part of a project and as part of a review process, talk about what that strategy should be ready. So there are various things to take on board. We've seen a lot of companies actually want to use a third-party services to do what we call readiness assessments. So is my company ready? And looking at the previous sections I've just spoken about in terms of the cloud maturity, am I ready for the cloud? What are the benefits? What are the cost benefits? We have delivered numerous cloud readiness assessments for customers, be it a simple couple of days to give you a high level view of the benefits and the cost savings, potential cost savings, or alternatively we've done a charge for service, which is a detailed report that actually maps out exactly where the cost benefits are going to be, the approach, etc. And that's quite an extensive piece of work that we've had a number of people also come to us and ask us to look at. As part of the readiness, one of the things we should do is talk about, do you want to, as part of your journey to cloud, do you want to go big bang, or do you want to take small bites? So, do you want to go and replace the full system end to end, or actually do you want to choose to maybe move to a halfway house where actually you take your current infrastructure and move it to infrastructure as a service, so hosted inside Oracle, but still on the products you're on today. So if it's e-business suite, for example, then get rid of the hardware on site, but have that hosted elsewhere, but keep using that current version of the software. Then make a further jump into the cloud by migrating that to the cloud. Other things we've seen happening is actually if you've got some small entities that maybe you've acquired or aren't on the solution at the moment, maybe use them as a proof point. Use them as a way of proving the model and proving the efficiency of a cloud deployment. And once you've done it in the smaller entity, then go back to the bigger ones and start to bring them into a consolidated system. The other thing is there's the ability here to go hybrid. So we've seen people put some of the cloud functionality on top of on-prem solutions. So things like Fusion Accounting Hub reporting or Oracle sourcing in cloud, new cloud offerings that can sit over cloud solutions or on-prem solutions. And again, each customer is different. So as part of the cloud readiness, we will look at this and advise and help you understand what's there, what's not there, and what's right for your organization, and play through different scenarios. So one of the things I've mentioned as we've gone through is the importance of the change that cloud brings and making sure that you're taking full advantage of it. Vicky's going to talk about process and culture. We'll do a separate session on process and culture at some point in the future, which will just be focused purely on that. So today is to give you a flavour of some of the things we're seeing out there. Hopefully, you'll again benefit from understanding what the opportunity is, but also how we've seen it being addressed. So, Vicky, do you want to?
Thank you very much, Phil. Okay, so over the next few slides, we're going to talk a little bit about digital transformation and what that means from an Oracle Cloud perspective. And the key takeaway that I want everybody to go away with and think over is the actually learning to change your mindset around what's involved in transitioning to a cloud solution. And the key point here is do not take legacy thinking into the cloud. So over the years, and we're all human beings, and we all create routines and patterns that we believe create success. So over the years, each of us would have been working on digital transformation initiatives, implementing ERP solutions across our corporations. And in many instances, we would do that from a legacy waterfall perspective, going through thinking through we need to understand our detailed functional requirements. We actually taking a look at the systems that we're buying off the shelf, and then actually rather than aligning our business to those standardized processes in those systems, actually spending time, money and effort redesigning those systems, so adjusting those solutions to fit the business. The actual idea around Oracle Cloud is that Oracle as a corporation has worked with hundreds of organizations implementing finance and HR systems, and they've actually fine-tuned their Oracle Cloud solution so that it comes out of the box with modern-day best practice business flows. So these are effectively commodity processes, finance transactions, HR transactions, whereby Oracle have, through their learning across many customers, identified what works, and therefore the key message here, the key takeaway is actually moving to the cloud. Not only can you standardize your underpinning architecture and actually simplify and take that technology as a service, actually from the same perspective you can take those processes as a service as well. So effectively you can align your business to the modern business flows. So we're going to flip on to the next slide now. Okay, so when transitioning to Oracle Cloud, the key areas to think about are how does transitioning and aligning your business processes to Oracle Cloud, Oracle SaaS, affect the people within your organization, so your key stakeholders, the policies, so your key business rules, the business rules that drive your organization, and then the underpinning processes that you'll operate. And when anybody starts or any organisation are commencing their road to Oracle Cloud, what we actually ask you to do is don't come into the project thinking that you need to understand every single detailed step of the processes that you're going to implement. By selecting the Oracle Cloud product, you'd have already pre-validated that the Oracle Modern Business Flows are right for your organisation, and therefore what we need you to actually bring to the table is an understanding of the people, the policies and the processes. And that's basically coming with the mindset of that you will align to the Oracle Modern Business Flows. And what we find really helps and really promotes success is if you come into the alignment sessions understanding what your business rules are. So any policies, expenses policies, schemes of delegation for financial approval, anything that makes your business structure operate and work effectively. What information you need out of the system. So what we often find is that our customers come to us very much focused on, I need to make sure that this purchase to pay process has these following steps and that we follow these steps, and that we have, each stage configured within the system. But what they're very reluctant to do is actually have a look at, well, why are we running that purchase to pay process? And the reason you run the purchase to pay process is that you need information out, and that information will be effectively being able to send a data file to pay organisations or pay employees their expenses, being able to report on goods or services that you've procured, and then also being able to provide dashboard information to key executives on key performance indicators. So actually the very first step isn't to come in and work out, well, how do I design this purchase to pay process? The very first step is actually understanding what information do I need out, and therefore that will inform the information that you need to enter into the system. In addition to that, understanding any regulatory obligations or any statutory obligations that that may fall under the jurisdiction of the country that you're in, and then also understanding your risk appetite. So in terms of digital transformation initiatives, there are often two key drivers behind them, which is an organisation may be wanting to streamline its process and become more efficient and therefore do more for less, or an organisation may be trying to implement more robust statements of internal control. And actually these two considerations are actually not necessarily complementary. So the more control you have, the less efficient your processes can be. Or the more efficient your processes, the less control you have, or the less compliance steps that you have in a process. So therefore it's about understanding what is your organisation trying to achieve. Are you looking to streamline, or do you want to have many levels of approval, many checks and balances, etc. And once we understand that, we can then help you to come up with the right compliance model for your organisation. So we're going to move on. So the next slide that we're about to move on to actually is less about sort of giving you advice and guidance on key thinking around your implementation, and more about giving you an overview of Inoapps' actually embedded approach to transitioning to the cloud. So we have an embedded implementation methodology, and if you look at the slide, you'll notice that there are 2 rows of red icons. So the first row of red icon, it talks through our standard implementation methodology, which is sort of going through initiation, designing the solution and helping you to align your business to the Oracle Modern Business Flows, prototyping, going through quality assurance, so testing, and then transitioning into operations. And underneath that, there's so if you go underneath the second red line, and then you'll see the section where we talk about setting vision, modelling transition, assuring outcome quality, and improve. So this is where Inoapps have actually embedded digital transformation and enterprise change into our implementation methodology. And so what we anticipate is that during the initiation and the design stage, there will be a period of actually setting your organisation's vision. So in order to embark on this initiative, you would have produced a business case, and that business case would have set out key objectives, the outcomes that you're looking to model, and what good looks like. So what we need to make sure is that at every stage in the project that we're constantly looking back to, why did we embark on this initiative in the first place? What is your organisation trying to achieve? So it's very important during the early stages that we clearly set that vision, we understand what the end architecture will be, and we understand how to get back to that business case so we can think about benefits alignment and benefits realisation. Once we understand the vision and then going into the design and alignment stage, that's when we actually move into modelling the transition. So as you go through your aligning to the modern day business flows, we'll actually be able to undertake a gap analysis that effectively highlights the level of change your organisation is about to go through. And then we can model this out. Now, I've got a slide coming up shortly where we talk about business impact assessments, and we normally carry out the business impact assessments during the model transition stage, but we'll come back to that in a moment. We then move into assuring outcome quality, and actually assuring outcome quality is two perspectives. So from the first perspective, it's making sure that you have robust quality validation steps, so robust preparation for user acceptance testing, making sure that you've got the right test scripts in place, making sure you've got the right data for testing, and actually understanding what your sign-off criteria is, so what your acceptance criteria is. But in addition to that, assuring outcome quality is all of the other preparatory activities that you need in advance of go live. So that might be rewriting policies, that might be issuing communications, running drop-in sessions, or running end-user training, making sure that there are training guides in place, making sure that actually your finance team understands not only how end users will interact with the system, but what month one looks like for them, so month end, what month 3 looks like for them, so quarter end and year end, etc. And then, as Phil mentioned earlier, Oracle Cloud is a living, breathing product, and it evolves regularly, and that gives you constant opportunity for improvement and process improvement and streamlining. So there's once you've transitioned to go live, there's a regular focus on actually, okay, so there is new functionality coming out, there's an upgrade on offer, how do we make that work for our business, and what changes do we need to make? And then underpinning all of that is effectively making sure that you're understanding your stakeholders, understanding the culture of your organisation, and engaging stakeholders effectively. So we'll move on now to the business impact assessment. So we talked about the modelling the transition stage, and actually modelling the transition is very much a design and planning activity, but it wraps around the alignment of your business to the modern business flows. And effectively, once the alignment stage has at least been first draft or is nearing completion, nearing baseline, there are 4 key stages to the business impact assessment. The first is to actually select the business flow that you're going to review. So it might be an absence business flow, or it might be an onboarding business flow. But once you understand the business flow, you can then ring fence that and do a deep dive into understanding how what impact aligning your business processes to the Oracle Modern Business Flow will have on your wider organisation. And that will be everything from understanding process changes, policy changes, what information you need out of the system, any peripherals, and when we say peripherals, we mean any upstream or downstream processes. So, for example, if you are taking a HCM solution, then onboarding will be part of that, actually bringing an individual into your organisation. But it might be that you have a separate contract with a recruitment organisation, and that would be deemed an upstream process, or a downstream process. So, effectively, there will be implications for the design that you are implementing in your organisation and how that will interact with a third-party contract. And then also looking at making sure, so we talked about setting the vision, so making sure at this stage any decisions you're making around process and policies and realigning the business, you understand how that links back to the outcomes and the benefits realisation. And then also looking at any challenges, risks or barriers. So when you are kicking off a transition to the cloud, there's a big focus on why this is good for your organisation and what benefits it will bring to the organisation. But actually there'll often be challenges, barriers, blocks, and these are the things that could derail your initiative. So at this stage, it's worth understanding, what are the challenges that we're going to face. Once you understand all of those impacts, the next step is to actually then align or map out how that affects your key stakeholders. So the idea is to create stakeholder categories and understand group individuals within those stakeholder categories and understand what their interest or influence is over the changes that are being introduced. So who are the stakeholders, what is their interest, why are they interested, how many stakeholders are there in any group, what's the frequency of the impact, whether they're internal or external, any communications, any key champions, who are going to be the people that are going to cause you most problems in these areas. Once you understand all of that, then you are able to actually take that away and create your business change plan and your stakeholder engagement plan. And then you can feed into that, okay, so what are the key messages? Which stakeholders do we need to sell to? Which stakeholders literally just need factual information, as in this is going to happen on this day, you need to arrive here, this is how you log in, etc., etc. Then underpinning all of that, making sure that you're constantly linking back to any regulatory or statutory obligations that you have. So we are about to wrap up shortly, but we'll move on to one more slide that deep dives into stakeholder alignment. So I've talked a little bit about this, so we talked a little bit about what's involved in actually aligning stakeholders, so going through and undertaking your stakeholder mapping exercise. But this is a really good diagram, and if you have this on a recording, then by all means, or you have access to the slide pack, by all means steal this diagram and use it when you're modelling your own stakeholder journeys. It's a good aid memoir of, the first step is to understand the stakeholder categories. Once you understand the categories, it's then to understand what the perception of that stakeholder category is. So are they excited? Are they a little bit anxious? Will it create more work for them? Is there going to be a big change journey for them? You may find that you're introducing self-service to an organisation where no one actually has access to the internet. No one actually has a computer. It's very much a sort of a manual organisation, sort of factory orientated, etc. That's going to be a big learning curve for those stakeholders. And even though on the face of it, it's obvious that it will make lives better in the long run, there will be an emotional journey to get over. Understanding, so this links in nicely to understanding stakeholder competency. So you may find that you're expecting an organisation to go self-service where they've got very little digital learning to date. And you may find that actually, the individuals that you're asking to go self-service for changing addresses or changing next of kin or emergency contacts, etc., they only ever have to log into the system once every 6 months or once every year, because they're not, they're not regularly logging timesheets, not regularly logging expenses. It's just changing personal information. You're going to need to have an understanding then of the fact that there's a skill set that every time they log in, it's going to need to be refreshed. So you're going to need to provision champions or support networks or quick reference guides, easy access. We then talk about profiling the stakeholder, so what is their interest and influence, and that will actually, understanding the stakeholder profile's interest and influence will give you a good measuring stick as to how much effort you should put into engaging with each of your stakeholder groups. What you don't want to do is put all of your effort for one-to-one consultation on the stakeholder group that has little interest or little influence, and then find that you're not spending any time with your CEOs who are actually going to approve the funding for the next round of the project. So once you've completed the stakeholder mapping exercise, which is everything above the line on this slide, you can then start to get into the actual delivery of the stakeholder engagement piece. So going out and with sort of focused communications, intensive where they need to be, but sort of passive tell messages as appropriate. Going through that learning cycle, so making sure that you've got the right training mechanisms in place, and then actually undertaking business readiness assessments. So, on day one when you kick off the project, you're going to, if you were to poll your organisation, you would find that there was very little awareness of the initiative and perhaps quite a lot of resistance to the change. At each stage in the project, you should be rerunning those polls and seeing a trend change in terms of actually more stakeholder groups being engaged, having awareness, understanding how it impacts them, and any resistance levels diminishing as you go through that process. So thank you very much for listening. I'm going to hand back over to Phil.
Thanks, Vicky. Really, really informative presentation there. As I mentioned, we'll do a full half-hour session on change and transformation. And again, like all our webinars, they'll be recorded and put on our social channels for people to have a look at. So just to conclude, a little bit about us. So obviously, we both work for a company called Inoapps. We are Oracle's SaaS Transformation Partner of the Year globally. We've been in business now for over 11 years, focusing on predominantly applications technology, actually, across all pillars, whether that be ERP, HCM, reporting or Hyperion, CX, etc. 300 plus staff globally, three main regions: EMEA, which is our largest operation, which is Aberdeen, London, Edinburgh and Derby in terms of locations. With a centre, a delivery centre and offshore model based out of Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur, and then an operation in the US. So what that means is we've got a large pool of resources. We've been doing cloud for over 6 years now, so we've had lots of experience and lots of customer experience, and we've got the ability to do global scale projects. Wrap that around with our transformation services, change services, a very compelling story. So hopefully, as I mentioned at the beginning, we can share some of our knowledge and experience with everyone in the community, and that's part of the objective of these sort of sessions. So we've run over slightly, so firstly, thank you very much for listening. You will get a recording back with a copy of the slides. Please feel free to share that with colleagues, etc. The whole purpose is to share information, knowledge and experience. That being said, if there's any, there's a few questions coming, we'll put those out as a combined set of questions. If there is anything else you want, please, as I mentioned, feel free to contact us via social media or info@inoapps.com. Many thanks, Vicky, again for your time today. Many thanks everyone for joining us, and look forward to presenting on the next subject matter in the series. Thanks very much.